I met her at a Carl's Jr. I met her at a Carl's Jr. Matt Graumann.
Fellow Toastmasters, I'm 43 years old. Young, 43 years young. And, you know, I started to get all this gray hair coming into my head, and you kind of see it there, and I like to call it blonde, actually. My wife, being 43 years old, she used to pluck out my blonde hair one by one, little by little, but if she did that now, I'd be bald. So if all of you would please forgive me if I think that the entire younger generation they're just a bunch of texting, twerking twerps. You don't want to see me twerk, right? Okay. But sometimes in everyday life, magical, special moments happen in just an ordinary place. Saturday, August 19th, 2006 was one of these beautiful Saturdays. For those of you who don't know, I'm a mobile disc jockey entertainer, so I do a lot of weddings. It was a typical Saturday for me. Beautiful sunny day here in Simi Valley, 85 degrees, light sea breeze blowing in, a little nicer than today. So I packed up my minivan, loaded it full of equipment, cruised down my street to the gas station, filled it up with gas, scraped off the bugs off the windshield, and drove down to my local Carl's Jr. restaurant. I pulled into the parking lot and got out, and there I saw an older lady just kind of wandering around the front door, and she was walking back and forth, muttering to herself, and then she'd look up and down the street, check out the bus stop. To be honest, it looked like she was a little crazy, batty people. So I just passed her, opened up the front door, and as I opened up the door, I held it open for a younger girl with long brown hair, white t-shirt, and a pair of black jeans on, and she was coming out. I went inside the restaurant, I would go ahead and place my order, I was thinking about what I'm going to eat for lunch, and that's when I noticed that the older lady and this younger girl had re-entered the restaurant, went over to the soda machine, got some sodas, and they were exchanging introductions. Okay, that's fine, that's normal, it's Carl's Jr. So after that I went, paid, got my food, sat at my table, my favorite table where I could look outside the window to keep an eye on my minivan so no one would steal my equipment. I started thinking about how I could do my best job for my wedding reception that night. And that's when the older lady and this younger girl came over and sat next to me in a booth. And I was just working on my food, but I heard bits and pieces, and I figured out in the first minute that the younger girl was there interviewing with the older lady for a volunteer position at the old lady's hospice care facility. And then the older lady continued, and she had a louder than normal voice, so she started talking about patient confidentiality and privacy, and how the younger girl would have to keep her voice down and not use patient names when she was out and about in the community, out in public, when she was in the elevators. I just thought, that's a good tip. It's a good start. And then the older lady started talking to the younger girl, her protege, her volunteer, about things like when patients would enter the hospice care home, their final home. Just things like how sometimes they couldn't sleep and they would be in pain. So you would have to administer morphine in carefully controlled doses so the patient wouldn't become addicted. Now, if I ever make it hospice care, please, give me all the morphine I can handle. Not too worried about addiction. And the older lady also started telling the younger girl about certain personality, physical changes, and spiritual changes that people go through in their final days and final hours. I don't have any grandparents left. And myself, my parents, and my wife, the two of our grandfathers, and one of our grandmothers in hospice care. So at this point, I was pretty much ready just to go ahead and get up and change tables, go anywhere that I wouldn't be able to hear this conversation. But something compelled me to stay there, so I stayed seated. And that's when the younger lady gave out a big sigh, and she looked outside the window one more time, up and down the street, and she lamented to the younger girl that they never come. The other volunteers, they never come. They always say they'll come, They say they'll help out, but they're not here. And she was so glad that the younger girl was here, ready to help out and volunteer. It was about this time that I finished up, threw away my food, barely made it out to my van before I started bawling, which is not the best way to get ready to DJ a wedding reception. Because you see, this younger girl, she was out there on her beautiful sunny Saturday afternoon, volunteering with all of her heart, her soul, her time, and her effort for that one thing that most of us don't want to think about. So the next time that you think that all the younger generation are just a bunch of twerking, texting twerps, there's one younger girl in Simi Valley with long blonde hair, brown hair even, that doesn't fit that stereotype. And I know because I met her.